Hey, Yinz guys and gals, gather round for a journey like no other. It's time to hop on board the Where Yinz Goin podcast, proudly brought to you by Dreams by Design Travel. From the rivers that meet at the point to form downtown Pittsburgh to the furthest corners of the globe, that'll be your compass, your confidant, your companion in that as we explore the wonders of travel. Kick back, relax on your couch, and let the wanderlust wash over you as we discover new horizons and reminisce about old favorites. With Dreams by Design Travel by our side, the sky's the limit. Join Matt on the Where Yinz Goin podcast because when it comes to travel, the journey's just getting started. And now, without further ado, let's give a shout for your guide through the highways and byways of travel, the man with a map, the voice of the steel city, Matt Trader.
How Yinz doing? Welcome to the Where Yinz Goin podcast, brought to you by Dreams by Design Travel. I'm Matt. I'm one of your hosts. Joining me again today is my co-host Katie and our guest Amanda, who you remember from the episodes about the behind-the-scenes tours and Scary Disney. So welcome to the podcast, ladies.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Hey, thanks for having me again.
And Amanda, it always seems like it's Troy McClure from The Simpsons. You may remember Amanda from such podcast episodes as, just going down your list. So let's start the podcast like we always do. Amanda, what is your favorite place that you've ever visited, or is there a place that you'd like to visit the most?
I feel like I've used my answers for both of those questions already, so I'm gonna need to come up with a better one.
We can
I'm
always
gonna
repeat.
say,
If it's number one, we can always repeat.
I know, right? I still stand by that I would like to eventually visit all of the Disney parks in each of the countries of the world. And especially now that we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about, now I need to experience all these rides all over again.
And what we're going to talk about is the Society of Explorers and Adventurers, also called the S.E.A. And this is something that's embedded in a lot of many of the Disney attractions, if you know where to look, and specifically some of the overseas ones. So let's dive into the fun and excitement of the S.E.A. So it was founded on August 12th of 1538 in Porto Paradiso, Italy, within the fort of Fortress Explorations. So the members consisted of scientists, explorers, researchers, artists, travelers, and adventurers from around the globe. And it's dedicated to the continued exploration of the world's oceans and exotic lands. So they come up with this crest and this whole backstory for it. And the crest that they have for it, it has, let's see if I got the picture of it up here. So everyone watching on the simulcast, you can see this, right? Okay. So it's, typical medieval type crest. It has what looks like little sails from a, sailing ship galleon up on top, along with some other features that looks like the back of a ship and kind of the sides of the ship. I guess that would be the stern if we're going to be, nautical on this. And then there are four pictures in the on the crest. And one is for adventure, which is a galleon, so old time sailing ship. Other one is romance, which is in was it armillary sphere. So this is an early astronomical, easy for me to say, device that represents the great circles of the heavens, and basically looks like one of those gyro device things that astronauts are in. That there's just a bunch of different circles that go around in different ways, and that they spin around on that. I don't know if you have, ladies, if you have a better way to describe it. So there is
It's kind of like one of those, like, so for romance, like one of your true, like you find your true direction, you find your true north. Like the way they talk about like an old time romance where you find that perfect place, that perfect person, that perfect, like the compass leads your way and you find your true north, the person that makes you completely who you are.
It's the Jerry Maguire line. You complete me.
Isn't it bees? What is it? Bees and dogs smell fair too.
Yep. And the human head weighs 8 pounds.
Yes.
that kid is like 30 years old now too. So let's see. There's discovery, which is a compass, and innovation, which is artist tools. And then there's little pendants sticking out and some little flourishes around it. So, but they were the four guiding concepts of the SEA. And so
So
they that go ahead.
this is a story, right? Like a story that is interweaved in, unless you're looking for the details, you wouldn't even know about the story. Like it's just kind of like, so
Yeah.
after doing a little bit of research on this, I found myself totally geeking out over this because I'm like, this is like kind of like the best hidden Easter eggs. Like just little nods that, like, if you're standing in a line or if you're somewhere in the park, you wouldn't know this unless you know it. And
Unless you're looking for it, really.
right,
I mean, it
like
goes back to everything at Disney, at Disneyland specifically, when Walt started everything. Rides were not just rides, they were attractions. Every attraction had its own theme music and backstory, and these backstories just developed and connected, and it just took off from there. And these Imagineers literally just started taking the backstories from one ride to another and connected them all into this far-reaching story, and it just expanded as the parks expanded across the world.
well, and
You
as we
know,
talk about this in this episode, you're gonna find yourself going, "Oh my gosh, this is like the best adventure and romance, and
it really
it's
is.
just like the best story that is amazing." And you get to live it and ride it and like see it when you go to the Disney parks. So this is great if you're looking for something that's a little bit different, a little bit more. If you want to really like prove to like your friends, your family, while you're standing in line for some of these attractions that you know your stuff, this is the episode that you definitely want to listen to.
It's like Hidden Mickey's 2.0.
Yes.
And speaking of that, I'm not sure when it was developed for another thing that we're going to get on with one of the members of the SEA, but this might go back and predate the actual parks. So I'm not sure exactly how far back this goes. So, but the mission statement says that the mission of the Society of Explorers and Adventurers is to collect, conserve, and curate valuable cultural and artistic artifacts from around the world and make them available to the public in an artistically pleasing and sensitive manner. Side note, they don't always do this, as we'll find out. Back to the story. Okay. Continues. It is furthermore the mission of the organization to equip and mount sociocultural expeditions to discover, explore, chronicle, and protect the artistic achievements of human society, past and present, exalted and forgotten.
So SEA officially in Disney history, chronologically, was really created when Tokyo Disney Sea came about. Um, it was it's actually a walkthrough attraction. You can walk through the forest explorations. But it was inspired by Pleasure Island's Adventurers Club. Pleasure Island's Adventurers Club, which is at Walt Disney World, which is now Disney Springs, which was downtown Disney, was the adults only area of downtown Disney. But the Adventurers Club was, they had, you were part of a club of adventurers who searched the world far and wide. And a lot of, there were a lot of things that they did within that club that were like like they had special greetings that if you would only understand the special greeting if you had been there before. And there were different drinks, like secret menu drinks that like is so popular now. They had secret menu drinks before it was a thing. You know what I mean? So like, you only know to order the secret drink if you know the code to get behind the bar into the library kind of thing. It was just like, it was Disney magic Imagineering for the adults. Was there like, that's kind of how it started.
Similar to Trader Sam, what Trader Sam is
Yes,
now.
and that's what Trader Sam's kind of that came from, was this Pleasure Island. And then expanded it into Trader Sam's. So it's very similar to Trader Sam's as it is now, where it has all that interactive, like if you order a drink, things happen around you in the bar. Um, but it was very like, it was a little bit more like there was a little more of a secret aspect to it, where you had, again, like you had to know like all the little secret codes to get the certain drinks, and like they would greet you in different ways, and it was just like odd words that made no sense to you unless you knew that was the code word, you know what I mean? So then what happened is, once Tokyo Disney Sea came about and they started adding all of these rides and developing these backstories, they added and made the stories official, which were, you know, the backstories anyway for all the other rides in the Magic Kingdom and in Disneyland and all the parks that already existed. They took those characters that already existed and made them fit into the timeline that we're going to discuss now. So this is now the official story of the Society of Explorers and Adventurers.
So before we get into the actual members, here's some of the honorary members. So Leif Erikson, so the son of Eric the Red. He's thought to be the first European to set foot on the American continent whenever he supposedly went to Newfoundland, and there's evidence of that. Pythias of Massalia, who was Greek, who circumnavigated the British Isles and actually saw the Arctic. Now, back, 2,000, 4,000, whatever years ago, that was a big thing. Cristobal Colon, who is more commonly known as Christopher Columbus. Sir Francis Drake, the first Englishman to circumnavigate the globe. Yeah, it's talking. It just does not work with me always. And that was the second person overall after Magellan did it. Prince Henry the Navigator, who was the ruler of Portugal and was instrumental in, with discovery and sailors and navigation on the high seas. And actually, real thing here is, if you go to Portugal, they have some really, really neat monuments to Prince Henry the Navigator and a lot of the history there of their navigations and just other things. So if you want to take a trip to Portugal, let us know. And then also, someone who's pretty obvious who would be a member of this is Leonardo da Vinci, who is said to have haunted the fortress explorations following his death in 1519 to assist further members of the society. Now, they said that he haunts it. I don't know if that's the nice thing if you're haunting to assist. I mean, maybe has a presence there. I don't know, but
hanging out.
yeah, it's,
He liked it
shooting the
so much he
breeze.
didn't want to leave. Come on.
And when you find those places. So we're going to go through some of the members as they are associated with some of the different attractions. So we're going to start with Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, both at Magic Kingdom Park and Disneyland Park. And one of the main characters for that attraction is Barnabas T. Bullion. And I love how these names kind of like lead into what they're doing and everything. Jason Chandler, and then Madame Vidalia Onionsky Zarkov, who is an unconfirmed member, though. There's no
Yes.
official record of it, but she's associated a lot, so she kind of knows some things. But Vidalia Onionsky, or Onionsky, I'm not sure how you would, where the emphasis is on the syllables and everything. But the story goes that in the early 1800s, Bullion led the amoral Big Thunder Mining Company in Arizona, in the Arizona range of Big Thunder Mountain. And then he stole lands from the indigenous Shoshone peoples that angered the indigenous spirit of Big Thunder, who caused a variety of natural disasters and accidents. Bullion used his connections in the S.E.A. to try to ward off the evil spirit, but it didn't quite work. And Chandler consulted with Madame Zarkov, who was magical, at the Museum of the Weird. There's another connection, and was not successful in urging Bullion to stop. And then that leads into what you get on the attraction of Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. There's the flood or the earthquake, depending on which park you're in that destroys the town. They have to close the mine and, chaos. But the Museum of the Weird, if you, yeah, Amanda, whenever we talked about Scary Disney, that's one of the things that Walt was
Yeah, when you
talking
talked about
about.
the history of the Haunted Mansion, they wanted to incorporate the Museum of the Weird, which some of the sketches from Museum of the Weird inspired some of the beings that ended up residing in the Haunted Mansion. So everything in Disney is connected.
Big spider web of, everything, knee bone connected to the hip bone type thing.
Yeah, it's a big wibbly wiggly, everything
Uh,
is all.
Side note,
So,
yes, I know that's not anatomically correct. Okay.
Yes, no.
so from what I understand, what happened was is when they refurbed the Big Thunder Mountain Railroad in Magic Kingdom, this is when they brought about this story of Barnabas T. Bullion. That they had the components of it and everything like that, but they actually put little bits of his story into the actual attraction. And that was part of the refurbishment that they did.
Yeah, that's around when Disney Sea in Tokyo was built. And then they started rolling it out into other areas of Disney parks.
So I
And
think one of the things that we should take from all of these things is that these like pictures of like random people that you're like, I don't even know who is that or why is that name there or what is that? There's always like the really cool thing about Disney and the stories that Disney creates and everything like that is everything is very purposeful. There isn't like a lot of things that are a wasted effort. There's not a lot of things that are just slapped together and hope it works. Everything has a very definite purpose to it, and that's why it keeps people going back over and over again, is because you could ride Big Thunder Mountain Railroad and it's a great attraction, like one of my favorites, but now you have that extra little bit of, oh, there's a story behind it.
Mhm.
That's the reason why.
and
And
again,
even
this is
more
what Disney does the
connected.
best is storytelling.
Oh, yes, Disney is a storytelling phenomenon. And then there's more connections because if you go back to Disneyland Paris in Phantom Manor, because Phantom Manor, the whole concept is that the owner of Phantom Manor, who is the Phantom himself, Henry Ravenswood, was a past owner and founder of the Big Thunder Mining Company.
Dun dun dun.
Right? So they just keep
Yes, it's
connecting
so
all
cool.
these
I've heard.
rides into this web with all these names that they're like, wait a minute, that name sounds familiar. Wait a minute.
And whenever if you know some of this background, pay attention in the queue for Big Thunder Mountain Run because
Mm.
that's one of the best ones. I
Oh, I
think
love the queue
there's
at Big Thunder
so
Mountain.
many things to look at that just the mining things of, hey, this shaft here is closed, this one here, had hit the mother lode, this one here is putting out this much, whatever, this one's run dry. Just the little details of like what you would find at a normal mining camp, 150 years ago. And some of the letters, I believe there's a letter from Madame Zarkov that's there. That if you're,
Yes,
read the details as you're going
there's
through.
multiple letters in the queue
Yeah, and so you don't have to worry
between
about being bored in
all
in
of
that
them.
queue.
Because
Yeah.
some of us, stand in line for a while and don't get the lightning lane, darn, just to look at the details in the queue.
So yeah, and even whenever you're either on the attraction, just looking at some of the things, you go by too so fast. But the really neat thing about both Thunder Mountains is whenever you ride the normal railroad and you go by, you can get a much better look at the towns whenever you're going through, and you can see some of the details that they put into it of, the names of the stores and what they have actually there. And so it really fits into, all right, here's what a town would look like, or what the town would
Mhm.
have and what you would expect. And on that attraction, watch at the very end because of the dinosaur bones. I know I can't, I'm 6'1", so I'm decently tall. And I know, I have really long arms too. So sticking them up when I'm going down, I always am afraid I'm going to touch them. I know I can't because they, made sure you can't. but it's still, it looks like you're gonna hit them.
Between that or Space Mountain and Magic Kingdom, I'm not sure which makes me fear more that I'm going to lose my head.
Well, I love Big Thunder Mountain Railroad because
I love it.
it is the ride that all of my kids like graduated. Like it's like that one ride that my husband and I always used as like the catalyst of, can they handle this? Can they handle that? Can we move on from, and not really move on, but add. I move on isn't a very good phrase to use, because you actually, as your kids grow, we always get this question, right? We get the question of, what should I take my little one to Disneyland? Should I take my little one to Disney World? What do you think? And here's the thing, take them when they're little, and then take them again and again and again. Let us like plan your trips every time you want to go, because you're just going to add extra like fun things, and like the experience changes every single time. Big Thunder Mountain Railroad is the one where like we always made a big deal when my kids were tall enough to ride it, when they were ready to do it, and like it made them feel like the biggest person in the whole park. Like the first time off Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, I can like tell you, both of my kids, when they rode it, I can tell you like their faces, how proud they were of themselves and how big of a deal it was. So
It's a rite of passage for little kids. And especially because the height limit is only what, 40 inches or 42 inches, somewhere around there. That
42 inches.
yeah,
Henry
it's
has
not,
just hit 42 inches and we go in 2 weeks and he is so excited to go on Big Thunder.
and it's, it, the the trepidation and the disappointment of, oh, you're not big enough. Oh no, no, I'm big. Look how big I am. It's like, yeah, I know, but you're not big enough for them. I understand. But whenever they finally reach the height uh restriction, the minimum height that ride it, the well, especially for my little girl who is very adventurous, it's like, yes, I can go on it. Yeah. And she's so excited now that she is 44 inches so she can go on Space Mountain. So there's very few things she cannot go on, and plus that opens the door for in Animal Kingdom, Flight of Passage too. So
Mm.
pretty much the only thing she cannot do is Tron. So it's we're excited for this next trip coming up right after New Year's.
Although I have to say, he listened to our podcast about Haunted Mansion and Tower of Terror and realized when he was looking at the list that he's tall enough for Tower of Terror and decided he's not going on Tower of Terror this time. We
It's
scared him a little too much.
it's
we
okay.
always
There's next
gave our
time.
kids a pass, because
He's like, no thanks.
you have
I'm
to
not.
respect their,
Because Dad, you can go on it yourself.
you have to respect their wishes and stuff like that
Right.
too. But yeah, you could always have a buy. You could pick one attraction in each park, and then, but then we encourage you to try like
Right.
Everest. Expedition Everest was a big one for my daughter. She rode it once. She's tall, so she was young, probably a little too young. And so she rode it, it kind of scared her. And then 3 trips ago, she was big enough to do it, or wanted to try it again. We kind of coaxed her into it a little bit, and it's her favorite ride now. So they, just because they don't love something now doesn't mean they won't love something. And then you get to go back. Every time
Right.
kids get to ride these rides, and every time your grandkids get to ride these rides, every time your like boyfriend, girlfriend, like friends, when you get to go to Disney, and even if you've been so many times, the first time that somebody that you love, somebody that you just like enjoy, gets to experience the magic, it's like experiencing it brand new for yourself for the first
It
time.
is.
And I've gotten to experience that a couple times. And I went since I was, that's my earliest memory when just before I
Mm.
turned 3 of being in Disney. That I've gone again with my family whenever we were kids. Then I got to go as an adult with my dad. Just him and I went the one time. I went with my nieces and nephews on some of their early trips, and then with my wife for her first trip, and my daughter with her first trip, both to Disneyland and Disney World. So I fully agree. And it's the rule of, okay, you can't say you hate this ride until you try. It's like, food.
Yep.
You got to at least try it once. Then if you don't like it, then we cannot do it. But you might like it.
Mm. That's how y'all got me on Cosmic Rewind. I had to do it once. I have done every ride in Disney once. I may not do them twice, but I will do them once.
And my
Karmic
last
Rewind, not so much. Once is enough.
and my last thought on the on Big Thunder Mountain is the thing that I like the most about that is on the lift hill. When you look off to your right, you can see the castle. No
Yeah.
matter which park you're in, you can see both Disney World, Disneyland, and Magic Kingdom. You can see the castle. Although Disney World is a little bit better because the castle's higher, and you can also see Space Mountain from up there.
If
Mm.
you're really, really geeky, you can time your Big Thunder Mountain Railroad to the fireworks going off.
Oh yeah,
And
going at night. Hmm.
it's just so cool. Such a different experience. So neat. Oh, I love
Especially because the line is usually not very long then because everyone's waiting for the fireworks. So great experience if you can do that. Any other final thoughts on the Big Thunder Mountain before we move on?
No, I know you're just waiting for this ride. This is all you, Matt.
So when you have a good skipper, the Jungle Cruise is the best thing you can do at Disney, just because I love all the dad jokes. And I mentioned this before that I have and will go on this multiple times in a row. Now, if you don't get a skipper that's quite as quick with the one-liners, or if you're in a spot on the boat where you're right next to the engine and it's too loud and you can't hear everything, then yeah, it's not quite the best. But if you get a good spot at its best, this is the best. So this is my retirement plan that I will be a Jungle Cruise skipper at some point in my life. So there, it's on the podcast, so it's got to be true. So of course, everybody knows about the Jungle Cruise, and during Christmas, the Jingle Cruise. Everyone knows about Dr. Albert Falls because they named Schweitzer Falls after him. And that's also where you get to see the eighth wonder of the world, the backside of
Backside
water.
of water.
I still laugh. Yeah, I've heard that so many times. It's still
Funny.
funny. Now, other people you're going to hear or see references of are Alberta Falls, who's not a member of the S.E.A, but she is Dr. Falls' granddaughter, and so she knows all about all this. There's Dr. Khan Chunasuki. We're going to see him later on. Frank Wolf, who, if you saw the movie, that was Dwayne the Rock Johnson, who's a skipper for the Jungle Navigation Company. And he's an unconfirmed member, but he's done some things that, he kind of knows what's going on. There's Professor Garrett Reed, who, here's your intrigue and kind of soap opera-ish type stuff. He was removed from the S.E.A after he was caught robbing Egyptian graves. He also knew Indiana Jones, and Indiana Jones knew him, and he may have been inspired by the Belloc character from the Raiders of the Lost Ark. So this is the guy in Peru in the very beginning, whenever Indiana Jones is chased by the ball and trying to get the idol. This is the guy who eventually gets it whenever he comes out and the natives are around him with the blow darts. So, but there's a story that that he was in Peru looking for an idol with Indiana Jones, and Reed got it. So you see some parallels there. There's also Mary Oceaneer, who's a captain, and if you look at, there's a letter in the queue from her to Alberta Falls, which kind of implies that she's going to look for Dr. Falls whenever he disappears. There's Miriam Pleasure, who has a crate that's sent to Alberta Falls, and Pleasure for Pleasure Island, which we'll hit on a little bit later on. There's Harrison Hightower III, which we'll also get into more details with him. There's a crate from Hightower Industries in the queue. And over the Global Broadcasting Service, which is the radio broadcast you're going to hear, Skipper Missy mentions members of the club joining her on air to answer questions about their upcoming open house gala. So listen carefully for the things that are going along, not just what you can see, but also what you can hear while you're in the queue. So backstory on this is that around the year 1891, Dr. Falls went on a 13-day expedition to chart the seemingly paranormal jungle rivers of Adventureland, also known as the Rivers of Adventure. So this river connects the rivers across the world, such as the Irrawaddy, and actually, as we're recording this in mid-November, that was an answer on Jeopardy, or it was referenced on Jeopardy the other night. So The Ganges in India, the Congo in Africa, the Nile, the Zambezi, and the Amazon. And if you don't believe all that, then you're just in denial.
Bum.
It's I'm auditioning, okay? So Dr. Falls and his fellow adventurer and wife, Victoria Marie Falls. So Victoria Falls is her name.
Hmm.
I think I could catch on somewhere. So they had a large mansion built in the Adventureland area, which is near with these rivers, which had a secret meeting place for the society. And it
I
was
wonder
hit.
where that could be.
Hmm. Looking behind Amanda, there's a nice library that kind of references that.
Hmm.
She's our backdrop. Yes, it is in their library, and you activate it by pulling on an edition of Rudyard Kipling's The Jungle Book, which was written in 1894. So many connections here that it just fits perfectly. Now, jumping ahead later in 1911, Dr. Valls founded the Jungle Navigation Company to transport passengers, messages, and cargo across the many rivers of adventure. And then the Jungle Navigation Company established outposts and colonies all throughout the world's jungles. And then Dr. Falls mysteriously disappeared in 1928, leaving his granddaughter, Alberta, to run the company. Now, we said before that she was not a member officially, um, but she was aware of the S.E.A's existence and was familiar enough with the Adventurers Club that she used their official greeting of, was it Kungaloosh?
Bungaloosh.
Kungaloosh. I think that's
And
how we
yes,
should
that was
start
the
every
ed-
podcast with people now.
yes, I agree.
And actually, I think it'd be interesting next time you ride the Jungle Cruise to go up to the skippers and greet them with Kungaloosh and see if you get a reaction.
They will answer you. Kungaloosh.
Amanda has tried it.
Yeah, a few times, yes. They know you are in the cult. And usually I get the response of you're not old enough to know what that is. So
In 1931, Alberta Falls and the Jungle Navigation Company created the Jungle Cruise to attract tourists as a tourism service to combat the Great Depression. The next year, Professor Reed made a camp in the jungles near the Jungle Navigation Cruise base, where he had located the Lost Temple of Immortality, which contained the enchanted Emerald Trinity, which could grant him eternal life. But his camp was then encountered by the Jungle Navigation Company, by a Jungle Navigation Company boat, who witnessed him being violently killed by the jungle for attempting to steal the Emerald Trinity. So this might be the camp that you go by where the Jeep is flipped over, you know, and of course they leave the lights on, so you never get the, it's going to kill the battery. You'll never get it to turn over now.
mhm.
Again, I've
Smuggle.
been on that. I've been on that enough. I can pretty much recite the whole thing. So, in 1938, Alberta turned the Falls Estates S.E.A. meeting hall into a dining area and created the Jungle Navigation Company Limited Skipper Canteen. She also met with Dr. Kon Chunasuke, who was a world-renowned Japanese entomologist who had come to the jungle to study rare ant lions. So that just does not seem like a pleasant animal to come in contact with.
But my
Alberta then,
question is, are they tiny lions or really big ants?
Or are they just ants with a mane?
or are they lions that can lift 50 times their body weight like ants can?
That's terrifying.
These are the questions that keep me up at night.
Or are they kind of like Ant-Man, you know? I don't know. So, Alberta invited Dr. Chunasuke aboard a VIP jungle cruise tour along the rivers of adventure, and it was aboard the Quango Kate. I love the names that they have for the jungle
Right.
cruise. And during Christmas, when it's the Jingle Cruise, they have other names on it.
Yes, they do.
And the haphazard way that it looks like the names are just like nailed on in
They
plastic
are.
each one. It fits so nicely that it looks like it was the skippers who just did that, on a whim. And now on this on the Quango Kate, the skipper, who was named Felix Penchman the eighth, who also called just the new guy, he wrecked the boat in a hippo pole of the African Veld, and this is where you see a bunch of people who are climbing that totem pole or a tree or whatever it is, and the rhino didn't kind of like them being in this space, but they got the point eventually, in the end.
Ba-dum-bum.
And Dr. Chinosuke, he is the second one from the top. Also on that on the pole are the ornithologist. Is it Siobhan Murphy, a Canadian
Siobhan.
botan? What's that?
Siobhan. It's
Siobhan
Irish.
Siobhan Murphy. Yeah,
Those of us really pasty European people can pronounce that name.
I'm over a third Irish, so back when I
Oh,
had hair, it had a nice little reddish tint to it. You should see
oh,
some of my cousins; they are pure gingers. So, the Canadian
Siobhan.
botanist, Dr. Leonard Moss, the painter Rosa Soto Dominguez, and the Captain Penchman were all chased up. And it says up the tree. I always thought it was a totem pole, though, or at
So
least
did
what the
I.
look of it. So, but but it was on the internet, so it has to be a tree now. So,
Mm-mm.
but anyway, if you go to the Jungle Cruise Curse of Emerald Trinity in Hong Kong, which is a special uh, layover that they put on, you can see a reference to Professor Reed as well there.
So is this during Halloween in Hong Kong? Do
I
they do it
believe so.
all the
Yeah.
time?
I think it's the Halloween one.
Yeah.
So, and also at the Skipper Canteen in the Magic Kingdom, which is such a wonderful restaurant, that there's references to Captain, so it's Brieux. So
True.
yeah, Brew. I was say it sounds like I'm a Pittsburgh Penguin fan. So we have Mario Lemieux, so it fits with the French pronunciation. He created the Skipper Canteen map with Jason Chandler and Mary Oceaneer that you see in the lobby there. I think it's in the lobby, right? Where the map
Hmm.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see Chief Tendaji, Tandaji, and his fez is in the display case. And on the menu is Chief Tendaji's crispy chicken. And there's a book in the library that is The Great Recipes of Africa. There's kind of like a nod to him. Did I say chief? It's chef. I don't know what I just said. Again, English is not my strong suit. Songo Shio, his fez is also in this display case, and there are two books by S. Shio in the library. There's a signed certificate of discovery for the ancient Cambodian shrine that his signature's on, and the word Songo Sho, Sangosho, is the Japanese word for coral reef. So they kind of got his name inspired by an actual Japanese word, which is really neat. Meriwether Adam Pleasure, his fez is in the display case, and there are several books by him in the library. So if you actually look at those books and the authors, they're created to fit the story. It's not just whatever they have there. Mary Oceaneer, she created the map of the Mediterranean that's there. There's a book in the library titled "The Parrots as Pets," which is a nod to her. There's her fez is there, and we'll get to what the fez is later on. And her signature is on the Hightower Spirit of Adventure Award that's given to Dr. Falls, and we'll talk more about that later too. And you also see Jock Lindsay's toolbox is in the Lost and Found in the mess hall. And Jock Lindsay was the pilot for Indiana Jones in Raiders of the Lost Ark. And of course, his pet snake, Reggie.
Well, yes, you can't forget Reggie. And then there's also some really interesting things. If you actually look at the map that was drawn in this display case, there's fascinating things that show some of the things they may have discovered. So you see the Nautilus submarine, which is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, of course, the giant squid. There's Maleficent in her dragon form is on there. So that's interesting. There are creatures representing Monstro, the whale from Pinocchio, and I can't talk either today.
It's contagious. Watch out. You're next, Katie.
The what is it from? The Leviathan?
Leviathan.
Thank you. from Atlantis. So it's interesting because there's many references to Atlantis in some of the ride cues otherwise, which we'll get to, but also in the library, because we talked about the fact a little while back that where is it? Alberta created the jungle navigation in the mansion in Adventureland, which had a secret meeting place hidden behind the library and activated by a book. And yes, if you look very closely in the library, there is a book, The Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling. And there are also books that are written by Indiana Jones, Mr. Toad, Master Gracie of the Haunted Mansion, Star-Lord, Tom Morrow, Cinderella, the Timekeeper, who comes from another area of Disney history, Captain Nemo, and L.C. Clench, who comes from the old Tomorrowland attraction, the extraterrestrial alien encounter. Yeah, he was the alien chairman of the XS Tech conglomerate, which was responsible for the terrestrial encounter. So it's just interesting that they pulled other Disney history into it as well. So you have to wonder, is the society all just based on Earth?
So I think this is a restaurant that gets overlooked too.
Like, I love this restaurant.
It's a wonderful restaurant. And this is a great opportunity. Now that you know all of these little hidden secrets and stuff like that, when we book your trip for you, just let us know and we'll go ahead and make a reservation so that you can check all this out for yourself. Because that's the great thing, right? You know all of these little like hidden little things that you can go and look and search out these titles of these books and search out this stuff. And we can help you do that by making your reservation when you book your trip.
And since the dining reservations open 60 days before the first day that you're going to be you're checking in, they open at 6 o'clock in the morning. If you don't want to get up that early, we'll do that for you.
Absolutely. 4 o'clock my time.
That's just about the time Katie's going to bed after her, gallivanting at night.
Right.
Actually, no, Katie's getting up that early for swim meets sometimes.
Yes, we will. Oh. No. Okay.
So the restaurant, it's good food. I mean, it's nothing that's super high end, but it's good comfort food that you're going to enjoy, and just the atmosphere and the personality of the jungle. So it's run by off-duty jungle skippers. So you're going to get the exact same little one-liners and stuff that you get on the actual Jungle Cruise. But here it's a little bit more, it's improv and it's unexpected. So you expect the jokes, but you don't know what the joke is going to be. So they have a little more free range that they can make their own jokes and everything. So this is right up my alley.
So when we went for Christmas one year and rode the Jingle Cruise, we were there at the very end of the night. It was probably the last line. And there was a gentleman that was in line and they cleared the boat for him and allowed him to be the skipper. And we were like, why? And he did, like, he knew all of the things. He was wonderful. He was one of the like OG skippers. And this was his last like trip. His family, this was one of his last trips, and Disney like let him, and these kids that are so fun. I think that like a skipper is like one of the, like, you can really tell like the cast members that love their jobs, and a lot of the times the skippers are the ones that you're like, they'd be fun to hang out at a party with, right? They treated this man like he was royalty. It was so like, it was amazing. It was so cool. So this becomes like it's not just another job for them. It becomes part of their personality, a part of who they are, a part of their story, becomes a part of their like history. And like it's so cool to think of like how the Imagineers long ago planned on all of these stories making sense and having like a and they it just becomes a part of their like who they are as people. It's a one. It was so cool. I will always remember it. I can't tell you which one he was. They didn't tell us, but you could tell the reverence they had for this cute little guy that was just like shuffling his feet, but could tell you all about the backside of water and like delivered that joke and several of the other ones like with precision and preciseness. It was so neat. It's such a cool memory.
Now I'm jealous.
Yeah, right.
And jungle skippers, they're born. They're not created.
Mm. That's like a haunted mansion ghost host and
Absolutely.
Tower of
It takes
Terror
that.
bellhop. It's like they're
Mhm.
specific people.
I think they would all get along.
Yeah.
So now over in Disneyland, even though the Skipper Canteen is in Walt Disney World, Disneyland has its own little bit of a version of what you're going to see, of the S.E.A. kind of restaurant type thing. That's the Tropical Hideaway. And they have the Chief Tendaji reference that there's a bunch of oars hanging up. And pay attention to what they say on them and the plaques that are on it. That his oar commemorates his 1913 voyage on the Irrawaddy River. There we go. Got it out. Sango Shio has an oar for his 1910 voyage on the Amazon, and there's teeth marks in the oar, so it looks like it was chewed on by piranha. Meriwether Adam Pleasure has an oar for his 1900 voyage on the Kissimmee River, which has the skull of an alligator on it. So he had a close encounter, I guess. There's Mary Oceaneer has one for her 1899 voyage on the Orinoco River, which is in South America. Uh, Camellia Falco has one for the 1831 voyage on the Zambezi, and she was the first female member of the S.E.A. So you got
So
some history there.
where can you find, Amanda, where can you find the tropical hideaway in Disney
By
land?
the tiki room.
Very good. See? Like you want us on your like your team for Disney trivia because
Right?
we're gonna bring home the little medals like for
The
sure.
last time I did Disney trivia, I won because the bonus question was how do you spell supercalifragilisticexpialidocious? And yes, I do know how to spell that, and I know do not ask me to do that right now.
Well, that's the initiation thing of how you get hired. You have to spell that
Well,
forwards
yeah,
and
come on.
backwards. So, moving on from the Jungle Cruise, sadly, but we're going to do some more fun stuff too. So, we're going to talk about the Tower of Terror, but this is going to be the Tower of Terror that's in Tokyo Disney Sea. And it all revolves around Harrison Hightower III that we mentioned before. So, the backstory goes that he went on an expedition with the Pillagers Brigade, in 1899. So, right there, going back to the mission statement of the S.E.A. of preserving and finding all of these different artifacts and then kind of preserving them and everything. It's okay. We're kind of stealing them really. So the whenever Professor Reed got thrown out for raiding tombs in Egypt, here's what Hightower did. He stole from an indigenous African tribe that they then chased out the Pillagers Brigade. They were saved by a Mtundu tribe, Mtundu, and they later stole the god idol Shiriki Untundu from them. And then Hightower threw a New Year's Eve party in the Hotel Hightower in New York, which is where you get the Tower of Terror. And then he was killed by uh, Shiriki Untundu, but he remained a ghost in the hotel. And then the Hightower Spirit of Adventure Award was then named after Harrison Hightower. So We mentioned a couple of those things before, um, with the Hightower Spirit of Adventure Award. That now he's a ghost. I just love that play on words right there.
The spirit of adventure. And if you happen to think about, well, if you happen to look at some of these things on the internet and happen to get really far into the history of Disney, there is a portrait that you will find on the internet of Harrison Hightower III. And it happens to look very similar to a certain Imagineer. It was portrayed by my favorite Imagineer of all time, Joe Rohde, who, if you know anything about Disney history, you will know his name. He literally was the one in charge of designing Animal Kingdom. He was the one in charge of the original Tower of Terror, but he did the Adventurers Club. He's actually the designer, and he was the key leader of the creative team for the Adventurers Club. So many people consider Joe Rohde, my Joe, the creator of the Society of the Explorers and Adventurers.
We still
He
need to reach out and get
also,
him on the podcast, though.
Oh, I love
We have
him.
to use our
He's one.
connections,
He just became a Disney legend last year, but
rightfully so.
he has been like, he's done all of my favorite projects at Disney. Like it just happens to be he was the creative lead on most of the team, or on the team. He was in charge of Aulani. He was in
yes,
charge of all of Animal Kingdom. He was in charge of Tower of Terror. He was in charge of the Norway Pavilion.
Bring back Maelstrom.
Yeah. Justice for Norway.
the cool thing about the Tower of Terror story
But
too is that in Tokyo is that they don't have really any basis for the Tower of Terror story like in Disney's Hollywood Studios. So that's the reason why it's not based off of the Hitchcock.
Or Tower of Terror.
Yeah,
Rod Sterling. There's the guy's
yeah.
name.
So
yeah,
they don't have those they don't have those stories. So they needed something, and this is their like it's not even like a second to it. It really has a life of its own, and is a very the story just melds right together with all of
they
this.
had to create their own stories as opposed to having stories that were already kind of already there, you know?
And that happened with a lot of the attractions that are over in Hong Kong or Shanghai or Tokyo, that there was really no reference that it would match so much with, or the typical guest there would not get what we have here in America. It's not in their culture, like you said, with the the Twilight Zone, and so it they had to come up with something new to fit and be welcomed into the other cultures, which is again is a
Yeah.
great Disney touch that they are conscious of. Okay, this is not going to work. We need to adjust this so that it's going to fit more of what the people there would expect, which is also great for us because if you make a trip to these, you get a new experience.
Yes.
And of course, you still get the drop, which is great. Or terrifying if you're my little girl. So
I'm on the terrifying side. Thank you.
So, next thing, if we go to the Disney Cruise Line, there's the Oceaneer Lab, which is area for kids to go and explore and play in.
Then the kids clubs on
Kids
the
club type
Disney
thing, yeah.
cruise.
One of them, yeah. There's many on there, and this is named after again Captain Mary Oceaneer, and we're going to talk several things about her. That the Oceaneer Lab was her ship that she sailed on, and here's a list of her accomplishments. And that she found treasure on Castaway Key. So if you are sailing on Disney Cruise Line, there is one of the private islands that Disney owns, along with Lighthouse Point on in the Bahamas, which I
Mhm.
talked to our good friend Maureen about that.
Mhm.
There's a pipe that belonged to Ariel. She found a contract that was made by Ursula. Also discovered dead man's chest from the Flying Dutchman and has Atlantean writing on her diving bell. So it says maybe she visited Atlantis. And books that are in the lab serve as portals for to their respective worlds. So uh the Toy Story book.
Yeah, there's a
And
couple different books that are in them. So when you go into the kids clubs in on a Disney cruise, you first start in a main room, and then there's rooms that are offshoots of that main room. So the books in the main library, it's similar to the concept of the library in the Jungle Cruise Skipper Cantina, where the book, if you use the book, it allows you into the secret room behind the library. But these books are a little more magical. So if you use these books and open these books, they transport you into their respective worlds. So the book called Andy's Room transports you into Andy's room. There's a book that is about it's from the on one of the ships they have a area from the Marvels like Avengers, and the book is an instruction booklet on the Avengers, or I don't remember exactly what it is. But it transports you into the Avengers area. There's the ship that we were on the Dream, and there's an area for Pixie Hollow. So there's a book to transport you into Pixie Hollow. And when they bring all the kids in for the orientation, they display these books and they transport you in and open the curtains and do this whole big show. And it's really interesting. And you can actually drive the Oceaneer lab in the Oceaneer lab. There's a whole setup for these kids to drive and pilot a ship, and you're piloting the Oceaneer lab. It's really cool. But there's stuff all over the walls in the kids clubs. There's portraits of sea members. Mary Oceaneer is on the wall. There's all these artifacts and books like that are written by sea members. It's absolutely fascinating because they let adults go in there. So we might have gone and explored.
yeah, there's no truth to the rumor that Amanda dressed up like a 13-year-old just to get access to these.
I went in an adult time. They let
the
adults
open house
go.
hours, the open house hours
They let you go on open house.
Disney cruises are the funnest thing because you can go in and see what your kids are doing. You can see all of the cool things that the reason why your kids are like, no, I'm good. I don't need to come out to the kids club today. Can you have them bring me a sandwich in? They are the best things ever. And so, and as an adult, just because this is a kids club doesn't mean that it's off limits to you. You have certain hours that you can go in and check out these places and see the stories and see the things that are just like the great little details of everything that you can discover.
Yeah. And on the Disney Wish, there's evidence that she came into contact with some magical creatures called the snow geese, because there's a frozen area in the kids club.
And I imagine with the newest ship that's just about ready to set sail, treasure, there's so many little links to that with the lounges and things like that it'll be full of all of these great little sea treats. So
right.
It was a Haunted Mansion themed lounge on the Treasure.
Yes. And then
there's a Jungle Cruise.
Is there a skipper lounge? Yeah.
I believe there's a skipper lounge on it. Yes, I'm almost positive there is.
Maybe that's where we should do the next meetup.
One of each, please. Yeah, we can just do a couple out of the year where we can get together.
Every quarter, pick a new one.
So, other things with Mary Oceaneer in Typhoon Lagoon, there's Miss Adventure Falls.
Which is actually the story of her shipwreck.
Yeah, and she gives the safety instructions for the attraction. And she supposedly shipwrecked in the lagoon of Placid Palms, which was later renamed Typhoon Lagoon. So this is one of the water slides that they have at the park. So again,
Have you
keep an
been
ear
on
open. Was that Katie?
have either of you been on this ride?
Oh yeah, we went.
Oh yeah.
It's been a while, but this is one thing I'm so looking forward to our trip this year because in the year 2025, if you stay at a Disney resort in Walt Disney World, you get free access, free admission to the water parks on your day of arrival. And we purposely arranged our travel schedule so that we can get a full day. We're coming in early and we're going to do a few other things in Florida. Just happens that we wanted to do a few other things in Florida. Okay. Then we get the full day so that we can go to the water parks. Now we're going in January, so we're probably going to get one of them that's open. But whether it's Typhoon Lagoon or Blizzard Beach, I'm looking so forward to it.
Yeah, they're usually one of them is closed for refurbishment in January.
Right.
I
And
think
that's
it's
usually when
gonna,
we go.
I think Typhoon Lagoon is open.
Yeah, I haven't checked the schedule yet for when we're going, but usually we go in December and it's kind of chilly and we'll, get there midday and usually do a Disney Springs day, on whenever we arrive. But this time, definitely putting for, going to the water parks. I don't care how warm, how cold it is, we are going.
So we did a New Year's trip one year. We did the whole thing where we flew in the day after Christmas, went and did everything in Walt Disney World. And New Year's Day, we got up and we went into the water park. And we went to it was Blizzard Beach that was open that time of year when we went for that year. It was the funnest thing. It wasn't busy in New Year's Day, and for like cold weather people that are from Utah, where like we are bundled up and then bundled up some more. Like the thought of going to a water park in January was the best way to start a new year. Like such a cool thing, like so much fun. So the water parks are not to be missed. There's something that you, even if you're not a big like water person, they're so cool. The theming, they're just really neat. They have the Disney touches all over, and the Disney cast members are phenomenal at the water parks too.
And keep an eye out for another podcast episode that is about the Disney water parks coming out soon to a podcast location near you. And so, and especially whenever, coming from colder weather area, that there's a difference, especially whenever spring rolls around, that whenever you're coming out of, snow and everything, that whenever it reaches like the 50s or whatever, it's shorts weather because it just feels so nice. So whenever you go down to Florida after leaving the winter, no matter what the weather's like, it's shorts weather. So swimming doesn't feel so bad. It's not that bad if it's a little bit chilly. It's worth the sacrifice.
So it looks like, Matt, I did a little research while we were chatting. It looks like you and your family are going to be able to go ahead and experience Disney's Blizzard Beach in January. That will be what is open.
Awesome.
Oh, that's exciting. So you totally have to stop and get the donuts. My favorite snack ever is the donuts at the snack station.
Miranda, do you do the chocolate? Do you do the raspberry dipping sauce? Do you do the white chocolate dipping sauce?
One of each, and then I because I don't share.
Well, I think I've mentioned
We usually get whoever I'm with usually has to get their own donuts, and then we split the dipping sauces.
So you and I, we could be donut friends at the water park, because typically what I do is I'm like, oh, I'll go get the donuts for everybody. I'll go get them for my family. And then they aren't any the wiser that there were actually 2 bags of donuts, but one didn't make it. Those pesky Floridian birds, they get to everything all the time.
And the squirrels.
Yes.
I always blame the squirrels.
Well, it takes energy to go walk all the way to get those donuts and all the way back, and you got to carry them too. Plus, there's the delivery fee. So
There you go.
it's the payment.
They're the best.
So, and Blizzard Beach, I have some very good memories of that. One time we went down of going on the water slides with my dad, and well, some of the racing ones, and racing them down. And I won, which makes it a better memory for me. So, well, my little girl loves water. She's part fish. That we were.
My child is terrified, so it's going to be quite entertaining next year when we go.
Well, we were.
Maybe he'll learn how to swim by then.
Yeah, we were in Kuala Lumpur at this big water park. It's like the biggest water park in I think in Asia. I'm not sure what is the biggest of wherever. But they had a big wave pool, and I took my little girl out, and I was holding her up, and we got slammed a few times. These were some big waves, especially we were standing right or where the break, right where it breaks, and she got knocked over a little bit, like knocked out of my hands, and I was like, oh no, and I see this big grin on her face. Let's do it again, Daddy. And I had a hat on the one time. My hat got knocked off, and she like grabbed out of midair. It's like, I caught your hat for you. I'm like, wow, how the heck did you do that? So yeah, she'll be excited about the water park. She's been bugging us that there's an indoor swimming pool uh where we're at in all the time. Can we go? Can we go swimming? Can we go swimming? So yeah, she'll be happy.
So my husband got the nastiest, like, those like knee burns that you used to get as a little kid that like you like jump right up and like move on with your life. He got a nasty old knee burn at Typhoon Lagoon because my daughter is a fish and she loves the wave pool there and we couldn't get her out of it. And it was so fun because he went over. I was like, go, just go, we'll take you over and let's get a bandage for it. And the nurse station. And they had like a little like a tally on a little whiteboard of the amount of like grown people that had skinned their knees that day. I think it was near the end of the day. I think he was number like 38 or something like that. And they wrote the number on his band-aid. Like,
Oh my.
she was like, that happens. The nurse was great. She was like, that happens all the time. You will not believe how many adults skin their knees and they can't move anymore at the Typhoon Lagoon. So maybe knee pads. I don't know.
Yeah.
No matter what, though, the water shoes are a definite
Yes,
must.
for sure.
Yeah.
So moving on, Disney's Grand Floridian Resort and Spa. Supposedly, it was built by Meriwether Adam Pleasure, who built it as an anniversary gift to his wife, Isabella.
Man, Isabella, like
Lucky
she,
girl.
like, yeah, she must have been doing it right because I got the opportunity to just stay at the Disney's Grand Floridian and
Ugh.
in September, and it is every bit as beautiful, every bit is just awe-inspiring. In the rooms, if you're not going to stay there, even if you just get a chance to go into the lobby and just kind of like take it all in, it is definitely worth the monorail ride over from Magic Kingdom, just to kind of like, it is it's its own entity in Disney. It has this air of very like, I brought my nice t-shirts, my nice Disney
The dressy t-shirt.
my dressy t-shirts.
Right.
And the cast members there are just phenomenal. They are so kind and so nice. I met some of the most wonderful cast members. I actually got to know one of them. I checked in really early, checked in at 4 a.m., had an overnight flight, checked in, and my room wasn't ready. But the cast member, and it was quiet. It was quiet and serene in the lobby. And we talked and we chatted for a little while. And then I dropped my luggage off and went and did rope drop at Magic Kingdom and came back to change my clothes a little bit later on. And she had delivered a chocolate Mickey Mouse and chocolate covered strawberries and told me that she was just so happy to have met me and how great it was to spend a little part of her early morning with me. And that is not an unusual thing with Disney cast members. And the Grand Floridian totally let us book you a stay at the Grand Floridian. If you're listening and you're looking for a gift for your spouse, let's go ahead and make your spouse as happy as Isabella was when this hotel was created for her, because it is
Yeah.
that gorgeous and such a wonderful place to make Disney memories at.
And yes, it can be a little bit pricey. It is one of the uh, deluxe resorts. But if you don't want to do the entire stay, do a split stay. And we did that the one year. We did part there and then part at one of the Disney Springs hotels. That it is so amazing. And as Katie said, even if you don't stay there, stop by. whether it's at the end of the day when you're taking the monorail, you know, if you're going back to the parking lot if you drove, or just to kill some time while the bus line gets, goes down a little bit, or if it's a hot day and you just want to break in the middle of the day to get some air conditioning, whatever, do a trip and go see any of the hotels along the monorail. Or if it's a resort day that you're not going to the parks, or if it's your arrival day, whatever, that we have, there's a podcast episode we did about the resorts along the monorail, and oh, it's so fabulous. I need to wear my t-shirt with the little tuxedo printed on it whenever I go there.
It is high class, very gorgeous, but not stuffy. It has a warmth. It has the Disney warmth to it that you're looking for. And all of these, like all of Disney, the reason why they have that warmth is because of their cast members. So,
and if you're looking for that, if you're not going to stay there for that special gift for your significant other, having dinner there is also a treat. So at the restaurants that they're the most, well, potentially the most opulent restaurants, or among the most opulent restaurants on Disney property.
Well, at least one of them is the most expensive on Disney property.
Yeah. Victoria and Albert's.
Oh, it's so worth it though.
Which is another little nod to, we have Victoria and Albert Falls. So now, Meriwether Pleasure, he also was the namesake for Pleasure Island in Disney Springs, as we mentioned before. And he created the Adventurers Club whenever he left the S.E.A. and he created it. So we have that nice tie-in with the two of those. Also, we mentioned Jock Lindsay before. At Disney Springs, there's Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar. And so supposedly Marion Ravenwood, Howard Stark, so Iron Man's dad, and Poncho Barnes, who was a female pilot. And if you watch the movie The Right Stuff, she owns Poncho's bar where all the pilots go and hang out. So real life person there, that they supposedly often visited Jock in his bar there. And just the theming of that bar in Disney Springs, it's so neat.
And then they do a Christmas overlay too, which is really, really fun. And they do all different Christmas drinks and appetizers and everything. It's completely transformed.
Speaking of transforming during Christmas, the Grand Floridian with the giant gingerbread house.
Oh,
that
the
you can
gingerbread
buy
house is
gingerbread
complete.
from, and
Oh, it's
the
the
tree
best.
in the lobby. Oh my goodness.
Oh, it's my favorite gingerbread thing. I mean, there's so many gingerbread things now. Like there's the thing at the Contemporary. There's one at Animal Kingdom Lodge now that they didn't do at first. There's one at the Beach Club. They have the carousel, but the gingerbread, and I think this year is the 25th anniversary actually of the gingerbread house in the Grand Floridian.
Yeah, and
and
the boardwalk has one too.
Mm.
And the Grand Californian out in Disneyland. Sorry, Katie, go
Yes.
ahead.
Sorry, Katie.
if you plan a trip at the end of October, and it falls into November, which is one of my favorite times to go, you can go ahead and see the gingerbread taking shape. You can see the house actually being built and the amount of like effort and the amount, and then like by the end of your trip, you can go back over and you can see the final product. It's so cool. Like this, like when we talk about gingerbread houses, this is not like a gingerbread house. Like this is not your like, hey, family.
This
is like a gingerbread epic structure of like marble, and here's a little cool thing too. When they're done with the gingerbread house after the holiday season, they dismantle it and they take it out and they're able to feed the bees. So
yeah,
I was hoping you'd talk about that again, Katie.
I
yeah,
love that.
love it. Like love that again, like the whole like one of like the underlying themes of this like is purpose. Disney always has a purpose for things. They make sure that they're purposeful with their decisions, and like the fact that like this beautiful gingerbread house that like brings like so much joy to all kinds of families during the holiday season also helps the bees. Love it.
Spike is one of my favorite characters in Disney. So Spike is the little bee that is
Is
the
in the Flower
nemesis
and Garden
of Donald
Festival.
Duck on the beach episode. Yeah. I love that episode. That's great. I'm a big Donald Duck fan anyway, so I may or may not have a Donald Duck tattoo. So, but that's for another story. We can talk about Disney tattoos on another episode. So,
I actually don't have one. I have tattoos, just not Disney themed ones.
I also have Grumpy. So, he's another one
That
of my
doesn't
favorites.
seem on character for you, though.
We can discuss later. You can talk to my little girl whenever I tell her no to eating, candy for breakfast.
Well,
Then I'm grumpy. So, more places where you'll learn about the S.E.A. is at the Enchanted Tiki Room, which we mentioned before in Magic Kingdom and Disneyland. And supposedly it was another base for the S.E.A. that was established along the rivers that are along the by the Enchanted Tiki Room in Polynesia. And there's Trader Sam's Enchanted Tiki Bar at the Disneyland Hotel, which has artifacts from the Adventurers Club.
So this, like, Trader Sam's is one of those, like, I mean, to just jump in there, this is one of the reasons why you want a travel advisor booking your trip. Trader Sam's has a very small amount of people that are allowed to go into this bar during their opening hours. It is one of those like incredibly cool experiences. In the early evening hours, you can bring your children. As the night goes on, it's no longer open to anybody under the age of 21. But here's the thing, these reservations, they get scooped up so quickly. And all of my clients that have booked with Disneyland with me have gotten a reservation at Trader Sam's. And it's because we know the tricks, we know the way to get you the reservations that you want. We are going to make every bit of the effort. Your trip matters to us, your memories matter to us. This is one of the reasons why you book with us, because we're going to take care of you. And if you want to experience Trader Sam's, this is a great way to do it. You just tell us, hey, this is the day we want to do it, and we get to work.
Katie may or may not use Jedi mind tricks. There's room for one more.
You know what? I do like a Trader Sam's dance early hours. It's not going to get me anywhere, but just like make your trip magic. But like no rhythm, no, like there's no luau in the Trader Sam's dance. It's pretty bad. So,
That's why she does it really early in the morning whenever she's booking your thing, so no one else sees it.
Yep, it's worked every time.
But yeah, there's so many Easter eggs in Trader Sam's. Like, so Sam, I don't know if you know Trader Sam. I'm sure, Matt, you know who
He's the
Trader
head
Sam is.
salesman on the Jungle Cruise.
Yes.
Exactly.
But all of the greetings and descriptions for the bar were actually written by Skip Documentary, who is a character from the Adventure Trading Company. But in the Tiki Bar, there's literally one of the house rules says to alert management if Schweitzer falls. So the phrasing implies that Trader Sam had a patron by the name of Schweitzer who was regular to the bar, who fell often. Likely Dr. Albert Schweitzer, who the falls were named after. There's I mean, there's a lot of stuff from movies, which is a lot of the stuff to look for, but stuff from what could possibly be connected to the society. There's a photograph of Sam that he took himself outside of the Temple of the Forbidden Eye. There's an airway ticket to San Francisco belonging to Henry Jones Jr. Hello.
Indeed.
There is a newspaper clipping in one of the display cases that is titled Grave Robber or Archaeologist, Dr. Indiana Jones, wanted by Hungarian government. There is also a plushie of Donald Duck on one of the shelves. There's a copy of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and there is a bronze bust in the bar of Dr. Albert Falls.
So if you ever wonder what he looked like.
Yeah. And then they did take several props from the Adventurers Club, and they're on display in Trader Sam's. So there's tons of photographs and letters. And then it's interesting because there's some members that are revealed to be past members of the Adventurers Club. So were they S.E.A members or were they not? It's never fully explained because there's a letter from President Theodore Roosevelt to one of the members of S.E.A. There's also a photograph of the wife of Meriwether Adam Pleasure. I mean, there's thousands of things. There's so many Indiana Jones references in Trader Sam's that you could turn every which way and find one. But they've even brought in things with, there's a photograph of Sam with he's in the Lost River Delta at Tokyo Disney Sea, riding the Indiana Jones Adventure Temple of the Crystal River Skull. So they've brought in all of this references and just like thrown it on the walls, basically. You can't turn around without seeing something else. And then there's so much other like Disney history on the walls that doesn't even go with S.E.A history, which is even more fascinating. But there's also a photograph of the Adventurers Club headquarters on the wall. So there is also a wooden leg on the wall with the name Smith on it.
Not mine.
Did you not get really?
Which one's this?
I knew a man with a wooden leg named Smith. What's the name of his other leg?
Oh, from
Mary
Mary
Poppins.
Poppins.
Come on, that should be right up your alley right there.
We're working our way through Mary Poppins with my little girl. We started watching the beginning and then she got sidetracked.
Oh, that happens.
So we're now watching Inside Out, hopefully getting to Inside Out 2
Oh.
so that I'm using this as a learning thing to handle emotions. So
Oh, we're right there with you. Yeah.
It's the 5-year-old age, so yeah,
we're right there.
Trying to work on
Although
that.
we had a funny moment because we were watching Inside Out and then Inside Out 2, and my 5-year-old turned to my husband and anger said something funny, and he goes, "Look, Dad, it's you," which is very appropriate because that is 100% my husband.
Oh man. So
anyway,
keeping with our tropical theme, at Alani, there's Auntie's Beach House.
Yay,
Yep, we
Alani.
talked about it before. There is a portrait of Harrison Hightower III, which, as Amanda mentioned, he kind of looks like Joe Rohde, and he kind of was involved with the creation of Alani. So, and
gosh,
with
you
Tokyo
can
to Sea
feel
and so
him
many other
there.
things. So, perfect placement.
He is like there, like that resort. I know.
It's his.
It is. Oh, go. Just go.
Time.
Go.
Yeah.
Go. Call me. I'll go with you.
Okay.
I'll support you and help you.
Okay.
I'll help you find your way because it is so. Oh, it's just so lovely. Oh, I love it. And Auntie's Beach House is so cool. Just like as a little thing, Auntie's Beach House is the kids club of Alani. So when you go to the resort, your kids can go ahead and hang out in Auntie's Beach House, and you can go in and they have open house hours here as well.
Ooh, okay.
And there's the bonus. If you book a trip to Alani with Katie, she will personally come with you and escort you around to give you the...
Well, I don't know if you really want me because I will eat, we've talked about this, au gratin. I'll eat my weight in it. I can be a very expensive tour guide.
but you're
I'll
gonna
be
eat well
happy
if
to
you're
book
with
you a
her.
trip there. Oh, it's so wonderful. Okay.
Katie will show you where the good food is.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So other things at Auntie's Beach House is um, Pamelia Perkins, letter from her, and she's in the Adventurers Club. Also, Meriwether Pleasure, he signed Kaimi's certificate of membership for the Adventurers Club. So whoever Kaimi is. And now taking a trip over to Hong Kong Disneyland, in Mystic Manor. It's the estate of Lord Henry Mystic, and of course he has his pet monkey Albert. And so here's a little bit of background on things we've talked about earlier in the episode, is that he adopted the fez as the fashion piece for S.E.A. members after he went on a trip to Morocco and saw them all there. So in the Skipper's Canteen, when you see all the fezes, that's why it's sort of, like the Shriners, they wear their fezes. Now the S.E.A. has it as well. So in 1889, he established Mystic Point as a colony in Papua New Guinea and went to Lord Henry Mystic Point. It's the location of Mystic Manor. It's the home of the personal museum of Lord Henry Mystic, which held over 7,000 artifacts, which he claimed from across the globe. And if you were listening earlier with the Pillagers Brigade, they might not have always been, taken or donated kindly. So now on this attraction, you're going to see Professor R. Blauerhimmel, portrait of
Okay.
him. There's Dr. J.L. Was it Batterista? You'll see Harrison Hightower III, Captain Mary Oceaneer, Charlton J. Taboret, or I guess that's it, Taboret, if he's French. He was the society painter who drew these, and then Maestro de Elfman. So
Who is
Danny Elfman,
who composed the music that you hear from the music box.
which that's the whole plot of the attraction is that Albert the monkey opens up this magic music box at the beginning of the attraction, and so you're basically going to go on a tour of the
The
manor,
mansion.
yeah, the mansion, to see all the big collection that uh, Lord Mystic has, collected. And so Albert opens this magic music box that unleashes all this magic, and then all these crazy things happen as you go through. And at the very end of the attraction, Albert closes it, so you get back to normal. So real nice little story plot point in there.
And they could not use the usual haunted mansion ghost concept because Chinese cultural beliefs regarding ghosts, many families worship their ancestors and pray to them for blessings. So ghosts pass on. So to insinuate that ghosts do not pass on is very bad luck in the Chinese culture. So they could not have ghosts be present. So that's why they didn't go with a haunted mansion like in the other Disney parks. But it actually came from, so again, back to Disney never gets rid of an idea, they just recycle it. It actually comes back to the original Haunted Mansion concept of the Museum of the Weird, which was originally going to be a walkthrough attraction of the strange objects from all over the world. So they ended up making it a kind of a ride-through attraction, but it originally was going to be the Museum of the Weird, where it was going to be all these strange objects collected from all over the world. Well, Mystic Manor is a collection of all of these objects that the society members have collected from all over the world, and they're now keeping at the manor. So as you go through this ride, many of them come to life because when this magic music box opens, these inanimate objects become possessed by the ghosts of the music box. So that's kind of how they brought the ghost concept into the haunted mansion. It's not really haunted, but they couldn't really have the ghosts living in the house because of the Chinese cultural beliefs, but they still brought it in just a little bit.
The non-haunted haunted mansion.
Right.
So that's a great way to get the idea into an area without offending the culture and making the adjustments to make it work, but with the slight little changes so that it's going to be accepted. So, last couple of things we're going to hit on. There's Soarin' Fantastic Flight in Tokyo Disney Sea. We'll see Camilio Falco, and see a ghost in the queue, another member. And then we talked about Captain Brew, again, unconfirmed member. He was the captain of the Hyperion, and there's the Cafe Hyperion at Discoveryland in Disneyland Paris. And if anyone is a Disney fan, you know all about Hyperion and what that is. There's in Disneyland at California Adventure, there is the Hyperion Theater that again pays tribute to that, and that's where the early Disney studios were on Hyperion Avenue.
Yes.
I think it was Avenue, right? The street was named Hyperion. I'm not sure if it was Avenue
Hyperion.
Street, whatever.
Yeah.
And now we saved the best for last. Other unconfirmed members of the S.E.A. Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse. That I'm not sure where this is, in which episode, but on their passports, you see the S.E.A. crest on them.
It's actually on the Disney cruise ships.
It's on the cruise ships. Okay.
So on the Wonder and the Magic, maybe, don't quote me on those, are the original ships that they introduced the Oceaneer Lab to as part of the S.E.A. history, and they introduced it as being a story and like the whole thing. There are photos in the Oceaneer Lab with Mickey and Minnie on adventures using their passports, and as there are images of their passports with the sea crest on their passports.
I've seen him. The Wonder is my ship. And
right, it's in the Wonder.
Yeah,
and isn't the Magic the sister?
They're sister ships. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I am for just about 5 cruises. Come March, I'll be 5 cruises in on the Wonder. She never gets old. She's like that hip grandma. You know what I mean? Like that grandma that you were like, she's still listening to some like rap music, and like she knows, like she wears the cute jeans.
Right.
Not like the skinny jeans that they're trying to rip from my hands. She's like the best ship. And yes, it's fitting that she's part of the story too.
Mm.
Katie, do you want to have breaking news here about the next cruise that you're going on and a future podcast episode?
I am going on a cruise with 34 of my family members to Mexico. We're doing the 7-night Disney Wonder Cruise. So we've done the Dream. We did the Dream together, all of my husband's family, and a lot of them, that was their first cruise. And they are now, Grandma is taking everybody. And it is the most incredible thing. I will warn you, grandmas and grandpas, that it might ruin your grandchildren, because every time we get together for an activity, they're like, and which cruise are we going on, Grandma? And so she's like, better book another one. Best family we're going to have from 2 all the way up to 70. And best trip ever. Just such a great way to travel, and a big family, and such a great way to make memories with each other. And it is something that we went a couple of years ago all together. It was the most amazing trip, where everybody talks about it. It is just such a great way to do great things. And on the Dream, when we went on the Dream, there were 7 cabins that were back to back to back to back, all in a row. They opened up the veranda. They were veranda rooms. They opened up all of the doors, or all of the walls, and it was like the biggest bowling alley. With all of the cousins, little cousins running back and forth, not bothering anybody because all of the rooms belong to, all the cabins belong to us, and something that they still talk about to this day. So if you're looking for a big family trip, if you want to book a big group, if you want to make memories with a wide variety, get with Matt, get with Amanda, get with me, and let's get you on a Disney cruise, and let's make like memories that are going to last forever. That is something that you can talk about with your family long after the vacation laundry is washed, and long after you've used every one of those photos on social media to brag to your friends. These are memories that are priceless. So much fun.
We went last year on the Dream, and it was over a year ago, and Henry is still talking about, we went on, and I purposely booked an inside room because we had the magic porthole on the Dream. He is still talking about the characters that he saw on our window.
How old was he when he went?
He was 4, because that was right after his 4th birthday.
Ava was 3. My daughter Ava was 3 when she went on her first Disney cruise, and she like loves it. I mean, and I know that's easy to say, oh, why wouldn't she love it? But oh, take them when they're little, take them when they're old, just take them. Call us and take them.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to hear more about Disney cruises, we have a 2-part episode, so an episode split over 2 parts that Katie and I did. Was it back around June-ish or so?
Yes.
One of the first episodes.
Alaska has my heart.
And if you'd like to hear more about group trips, tune in sometime around Christmas. So right when the family's gathering, we're going to talk about group travel.
Wouldn't it be so great to like be able to get around the Christmas tree and talk about a big old family trip? Instead of talking about all the things that like make you fight with each other, you can talk about planning a big old family trip. You'll be the hero of everybody. You'll be the hero of like your in-laws, your sister-in-law that's like has to like lecture her husband about not bringing up that thing. like yeah, let's do a big trip. Oh, solving family problems. That's one of our jobs too as travel advisors.
And then the next time you gather, you get to talk about the memories you made on it. And the next time you gather, you talk about the next trip you're planning. And
That's right.
It's a wonderful, snowball effect of a nice cycle, the circle of life type of thing. All right. Any final comments that you would like to add about the S.E.A. or the Adventurers Club?
Well, I think honestly, just keep a lookout. I mean, I've looked at other attractions, and as they're redesigning and updating attractions, Disney is adding little details into everything that reference the Society of Explorers and Adventurers. So I have a feeling that this storyline is going to just get bigger and broader. So who knows?
And on that note, Amanda, if you would like to give your travel tip, unless that was it.
I mean, that could be it.
Good tip. I like it. Katie, do you have one?
Yep. I think that it's really important when you're doing a trip, but especially a trip to a Disney park or a Disney cruise, or one of the Disney destinations, that you take time to stop. You take time to take it all in. We are so in a rush nowadays. We rush through everything. We rush to one spot to another spot. And that's what travel gives you a chance, is to sit back, take a break. It sounds so funny to say at Walt Disney World that you can like breathe, but some of my favorite memories are with my family, with my kids, because here's the thing, it goes quick. I'm a 22-year-old now. And like I blinked, and it was just a little while ago that he was a little boy on Autotopia and was so excited that he was tall enough to like see over the steering wheel. And the thing is it goes quick, right? So you want to make sure that you have time to take it in. These little details that you find in the Disney parks, the reason why they're so amazing is because you stop and take a chance to take it all in and just breathe. Disney's a great place to travel to where you can find the magic, and the magic's just waiting for you to discover.
And just as a side note, Katie's a time traveler because she's only 25 right now. So having a 22-year-old
Oh,
kid.
I don't know about that. In fact, I do know about that. There's no.
See, I say that I'm 20 years old because, I turned 25 and then I started being old. So the old age, that adds there. So it makes you feel better. Or like my one aunt who started counting backwards after a certain point. So my travel tip, it goes along with both what Amanda and Katie said, is that always keep your eyes open, whether you're at Walt Disney World Resort, Disneyland Resort, on the Disney Cruise Line, any other parks that are around the world, anything where you're at in a Disney environment, that they do such a great job of storytelling and including these little details that you'll be rewarded whenever you notice these things. Like walking along Main Street in Magic Kingdom or a Disneyland park and just looking up at the windows and seeing that, which we might do another episode on that too. Um, seeing all the little nuances, going through the haunted mansion and just reading the tombstones and some of the names and some of the references you get, or going through um, Winnie the Pooh and you see in Magic Kingdom when you see the plaque where Toad is handing the deed over to them, and there are just so many little things, that little insider Easter eggs and different things that it just can enhance your trip when you notice those little things. It's like, oh, I never noticed that before. Like, and if you're in Disneyland looking up when Snow White and you get to see the Wicked Witch or the Wicked Queen opening the windows and looking down on you. Little things like that that just add to your trip. So, if you have a destination or experience that you'd like to have us discuss on the Where Yinz Goin podcast, or if you'd like to share your favorite destination or travel tip, feel free to contact me. I'd love to hear your feedback and ideas. If you are already working with a Dreams by Design travel advisor, please continue to work with him or her. Otherwise, Amanda, how can people get a hold of you?
I am on social media, both Facebook and Instagram, at Dreams by Design Travel with Amanda. Otherwise, you can email me directly, amanda@dreamsbydesign.travel.com.
Katie, how about you?
My Facebook is Dreams by Design Travel with Katie. My Instagram is Katie Dreams by Design Travel, and my email is katie@dreamsbydesigntravel.com.
For me on social media, I'm at Matt with DBD on Facebook, X, and Instagram. Email is Matt, M-A-T-T, @dreamsbydesigntravel.com. Our website is dreamsbydesigntravel.com. All of this information is in the episode description. So if you'd like to contact us to book a trip or have any questions, you can use that. You don't have to have written it down now or have a photographic memory or anything like that. Please like, follow, subscribe, leave a review, tell a friend. If you like what you heard, please pass that along. We'd like to get the word out of our podcast and grow our audience. Get as many people to enjoy what you're enjoying as well. Ladies, thank you very much. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having us again.
Thank you.
Please join us next time. We're heading out in that. We'll see you later.